Hey everybody, it's Dr. Joan Efland here. Today we're going to be talking about a topic that just rivets everyone. And the topic is, what do I really have to take out of my diet, out of my food plan, in order to be safe? And by safe, I mean not have cravings that drive me to eat things that I don't want to eat. Safe means going to bed at night being really proud of the way you've eaten. Safe means having a plan when you wake up and then following that plan all day long. So are there particular foods that make us unsafe? Yes, there are very specific foods. There are foods that are bad for us. And I don't like this phrase unhealthy, because unhealthy just thinks, well, I can just have some. But when you start to compare the damage from processed foods to the damage from cigarettes, people can start to get an idea of, you know what, I really need to just not eat these at all. I didn't ask to lose control over them. I didn't ask to get to this point where I'm eating them, even though I know I shouldn't be, but here I am. So I am going to do the right thing and protect myself from these foods. Now, the one that everybody knows about is sugars, of course. And then the next one, even the very next one, is hard for people, and that's flour. But flour today is so highly refined that it gets into our system all at once, and we have a high and a crash, and then in the crash we're eating again. Now, there seems to be some confusion about whether you can get away with only eliminating sugar, but you can still eat flour. No, that's not going to work. It will work if that is the strategy that you have adopted. Like, okay, this week I'm going to give up sugar, but you still have it in your mind that you're going to give up flour. Because if you just give up the sugar, you'll switch over to the flour, because the human can get high off of flour, and the person who's still having the highs and the crashes, in that crash, they're still going to be craving. So give up the sugar, you'll feel much better, but don't stop. Go ahead and give up the flour. And then the next substance that people wonder about, we've been told a lot of things that are just not true about gluten. So the wheat industry produces a product that's very high in gluten. It was the result of some research that was done in the 1930s and 40s to hybridize wheat to make it more productive, but in the process they vastly increased the gluten content, and gluten has a natural morphine in it. So especially when you grind that morphine up and you make it into a powder, it can reach the opiate pathway in the brain very quickly, and you get that high in a crash. So just know in your heart of hearts, it's not that hard to give up gluten. But even if it's in an unrefined product, like a lot of people think they can eat barley, but barley has gluten in it. Rye, spelt, kamut, and of course wheat, and many varieties of oats. So those are just, don't wonder about it. Don't wonder about it. We have great research showing that when people get off of gluten, even if they don't have celiac, and this is the mistake right there. People say, well, I don't have celiac disease. My gut works just fine. It's in the brain. It's a depressant. It makes people moody. It can make people erupt. So gluten, and now gluten is being implicated in type 1 diabetes. So there is some research showing that gluten can affect the beta cells in the pancreas. So why would you eat it? Why would you choose it? The only reason somebody would be really tied to gluten would be that they were getting a high off of it. And so they were in that addictive cycle of needing to get high out of a crash. So gluten, just be sure that if you have gluten in your food plan and you're lapsing, it could be because of the gluten, because you're getting a higher crash, and in the crash, you're losing control. So people also wonder about processed fats. They activate the same pathways as marijuana. So if you have a can of shortening in your house, just go ahead and get rid of it. You know, maybe you can say, well, you know, I'm only using it a teaspoon or so here and there. It's not for you and it's not helping you. So your body needs fats. Your brain is made from fat, but it can't use processed fats. It's got to use a natural fat, like an avocado or a cold pressed olive oil or the fat from meat products. Those are all healthy fats, and there are lots of other good, really healthy fats. So when you're thinking about what kind of shortening or what kind of fat to use in your food plan, use a real fat. Don't use a processed fat. Margarine is a processed fat, so don't use those. They could be giving you cravings. So the same thing with dairy. People wonder, well, should I be eating dairy? Dairy has sugar in it. It has 4 different kinds of casomorphine in it. It's designed to put a baby cow to sleep. So if you are lapsing and you are eating dairy, get the dairy out of there and see if you can stop lapsing. See if you feel calmer, more stable, less likely to lose control. Same thing with excessive salt. You've got to eat salt because it's important for the electrolytes in your body. So just 1 twist, 2 twists, that's it. Don't cook with salt because you'll lose track of how much is in it. So don't cook without salt, and then when you have it on your plate, twist, twist, that's it. But do it at every meal because you do need that salt, and get a really good high quality mineral salt. So if you are over salting your food, you could be setting yourself up for lapsing because of the foods that you're choosing. Okay, now corn is a problem for most people right now because, at this point anyway, because of high fructose corn syrup. I believe it has created sensitivities in us, and corn is now capable of setting off kind of an allergic reaction in the body. So not just high fructose corn syrup, but fresh corn, corn on the cob, sweet corn, popcorn, corn chips. Those are all products that, if you are lapsing, could explain why you're lapsing. So go ahead and get rid of those. And then there are some foods that are just, that we're just allergic to. And it could be like certainly the high sugar fruits, that we're gonna just eat those fast and be out of control. So if you're like still at that stage where you think, oh, I could eat high sugar fruits, then just start thinking about letting them go and see if you can get control. No single food out there is worth the risk of losing control. So get those high sugar foods out of your house and out of your diet. And then some people are so sensitive, they can't handle fruits at all, or they can only handle some fruits. So if there's a fruit that you overeat, like you think you're going to eat one and you end up eating more than one, that fruit should not be in your house. That fruit is causing your brain to crave. And just don't buy it. I mean, like, I personally don't buy citrus because I'm trying it out to see if it will help reduce my asthma. It's not in my house. It's not because I overeat it, it's because I think I'm allergic to it. So easy to give it up. I just don't buy it. I cook my own food and I just don't buy it. So this is the kind of attitude to take towards eliminating one food or another food. Another real problematic food that causes people to lapse and overeat is nuts. You can always tell, this is kind of an inside joke, you can always tell an amateur in the field of food addiction because they're recommending nuts. Nuts drive food addicts nuts. And they're not in our houses, they're not in our homes. They have tryptophan in them. It does excite the serotonin pathways, and we don't need any more excitement up here in this brain around food than we already have. So these are ways people wonder, why am I lapsing? Why am I lapsing? Why am I lapsing? Sometimes it's right in the food. The trigger is right in the food. And if you've had an experience where you've tried to eat something and, oh, you've eaten more than you had planned, keep it out of your house. Even if it's a food on our unprocessed list, like oranges, keep it out of your house. It's not for you. Something happened in your life. Maybe you turned to oranges at one point in a stressful time, and then your brain thought, oh, we should turn to oranges at stressful times. So that link got created back there, but it's not working for you now. So let's see. Sometimes even like onions. Onions are a very high carbohydrate vegetable. Beets are a high carbohydrate vegetable. You might not be able to tolerate those. Certainly anything that's both crunchy and salty. You guys know what I'm talking about. So why do we fight so hard to get these foods out of our houses? Because we want to lead great lives. We want to lead lives where we're using these magnificent brains to create, to be loving, to be connected, to share, to find joy. And when that brain power is being pulled off into, oh, I'm thinking about this food, I'm thinking about this food, I'm thinking about this food, then every moment that we're spent in that craving state is a moment that's lost from having a glorious life. So fight for this. This is worth fighting for. And nobody else in your house needs to have that food either. We're talking about individual food groups here. If you are overeating all real foods, if you're just binging on everything on the unprocessed list, that's not a food issue, that's a something else issue. That's either a body issue, a relationship issue, some triggering coming out of the environment. It could be from other places. It could be from loneliness. That's not a food issue. If you're binging on all of the unprocessed foods, that's not a food issue. That's a stomach stretching issue to get a release of serotonin that travels to the serotonin receptors in the brain. And we just need to find another way to make you so happy that you don't need that extra serotonin release. All right, so talk to your health professional about this. This could be a big avenue for you to regain control. And of course, you're always welcome to email me. I'm at foodaddictionreset@gmail.com. The website is foodaddictionreset.com. And you're always welcome to join us out in our Facebook group, Food Addiction Education. But always turn to your health professional first. Thank you.